Welcome to Insaka Artists presentation. My name is Enzele Chulu. I'm the project coordinator for Insaka Artists Trust, and I'm here to present our Insaka Artist Initiative project, which is a response of COVID-19 pandemic. Well, greetings from Lusaka, Zambia. What I'm going to present to you is an idea that has been with us for quite some time. This idea is to present a newsletter called ArtOgraph. So I want us to understand it from a historical background. In 2010, while I was an art collaborator residence at Bonandale Art Bakery in Douala, Cameroon. It's a place where I met a very good friend of mine, the late Godi Lay. I think we had a very instant rapport, and our understanding of how the art's supposed to be run on the African continent was very deep. So much that I really admired his output, energy, and what they were doing as the art bakery. So I was so impressed with one of the highlights of my residence was the newspaper that Art Bakery was producing. This newspaper was some kind of a beacon for Art Bakery, because it was such a very unfamiliar space. You know, you couldn't just relate that this place was actually producing a newspaper, which was making Bonandale to be very well known, even beyond Douala. You know, Bonandale now, I think, at this time should be an artist village, because there were a lot of studios coming up, following up Godile and the other artists in the same space. So there were so many studios around Art Bakery. The setup was such that people would go to Art Bakery and do their residence, and also interact with other artists who were, you know, based within the same village. So a very interesting place to visit. Yeah, but one striking highlight of my residence was a newspaper called Art Bakery newspaper. And this one blew my mind, because I could not really come to terms to understand that such a place, such a small place, could be producing a very good looking newspaper, and very informative about the artist, and the artists were writing about themselves. That inspired me in a great way, that I brought the idea to Lusaka, Zambia. In 2010, the Insaka Artists launched its own version called Art Pages. It was a pilot project. We just wanted to see how we were going to, you know, find our feet in this kind of environment with our new idea of doing our own paper. And we deliberately gave it the name Art Pages, because we thought, well, the main media, the mainstream media, had very few pages reporting on art, or the arts generally. So we thought, well, why can't we just have a full-fledged paper with Art Pages? So Art Pages was born. And then, since it was a pilot project, well, it went under, and we went back to our art workshops and residences, which we did until 2015. And the last residence program was 2020, just on the onset of the COVID-19 outbreak. The outbreak brought in a lot of changes in the way we operate. Everybody had to disappear from the public scene, because we were all locked down, or the economy was slowed down somehow. And we were figuring out how we're going to become relevant to the artist needs in terms of, you know, activities and the other programs for artists. Until Triangle Network came up with the Zoom meetings, which we've been attending, most of us, or some of us, or not so many of us, but that idea of coming up with Zoom meetings, I think, gave us also an opportunity to look back into our bag of archival material, say what can we do in this time of COVID when so many things have been shut down. So once again, art pages resurfaced as one of the favorite ideas that we were going to embark on, because art pages, we thought, okay, we can sit down in our studio, we can do the printing, we can call people, we can write articles about ourselves, we can make it an online version. And this is where we are today, presenting ArtOgraphy. Now, I just want to give a small dictionary explanation about who the name ArtOgraphy itself. You know, it's derived from the word autograph, meaning a writing of usually celebrity in this manner, in their own handwriting. Any manuscript or score or whatever they might scribble becomes an autograph. Now, what we've done is to remove the word auto and replace it with art. So it becomes ArtOgraphy, or now this becomes like a manuscript written by artists themselves, you know, so much that we wanted to express ourselves, give the public our own perspective, the way we want things to be written, the way we want things to be reported, the way we want people to know about it, because there's so many other things that happen in this life. You know, as artists, we feel there's so many programs, activities, or events, or spontaneous performances that we do and they go unreported or uncovered by the media. The media comes in with its own agenda, with its own, you know, objective of covering us. But we felt, oh, why don't we write our own stuff, write our own stories? So we're writing our own stories to make sure that people understand us from this perspective, because, well, that's who we are, you know. So ArtOgraphy has come on board in the Triangle family, of which initially is going to start as a Zambian journal for artists, to sort of highlight the news, previews, reviews, interviews about artists and for artists, but to be given out to the public. Going further, we were also inspired by other international media, like AMA, which stands for Arts Media Agency. They were sending their PDF copies to Insaka for quite some time. I don't know what has happened by now, but there are other examples also I can give, like the Art newspaper has been very, very, you know, consistent. They've got the hard copy version, but also an online version, and it's working very well in this COVID situation we're in. And also Art Times from South Africa, in Cape Town precisely. So these are some of the journals that really we were looking at as helping us to, you know, get inspired along the way. Of course, we had to, you know, come up with this ArtOgraphy as a way of also disseminating information to artists themselves, you know, art collectors, people in the academia, people in government, people in corporates, people in private institutions. All the people that we've interacted with, they need to know what we artists are doing. Yeah, so now the presentation of artography starts right here. That we're going to give out this in online newsletter and send it to all our partners and see how best we can continue reporting on art activities about artists for the sake of art itself. So my presentation, the first page has got 3 gentlemen who won awards. This was during the Visual Arts Council Awards, and the title is written Kopala Artist. Kopala in Zambia means copper. So everybody that is referred to Kopala, it means that that person comes from Copper Belt. And in this case, the artist who won the most outstanding award, Emmanuel Chibaye, is from Copper Belt. So we call him a Kopala artist. Scoop's Top VAC Award. That was the main story. And then the other unique thing about this story is that for the first time in the history of Visual Arts Council and the history of arts in Zambia particularly, a Zambian and an artist for that matter has sponsored the whole prize money for the awards, which is quite something, because many times money has to come from somewhere, you know, to make things happen. But this time around is one of the artists who is now based in Switzerland, through his foundation, Chanda Martin Foundation, has enabled Visual Arts Council to hold his Revival VAC Award. Emmanuel Chibaye got his first Most Outstanding Artist Award. We got Chipika, Simanui, as you would read through, and Joseph Chinunga, who got the Best Sculptor Award. Then on the left a column of the front page, there are small stories, or I can say briefs, which takes you to the pages. So each page you can click on, say page 3, which is talking about VAC AGM. You can click there and you go straight to page 3, and you can read through. Then after you finish, you can go back to the front page. There's a link button there. Then you also have a second story. You're talking about rhinocide. There was a plastic rhino that was uprooted from its base in Lusaka here. This place is also undergoing some construction works. They are sort of redoing the roads, making a bridge. So there's so much earth moving around this area called Long Acres. And then there was a rhino made out of plastic, collected from the environment within. So it had a very significant story about environmental protection and conservation. But the contractors, well, they had other ideas. So the rhino was sort of uprooted from the spot and then left just like that. And then there was an uproar from the artists section that why can they, incorporate landscaping into, the construction? So much that they can marry whatever is already in the environment together with the new roads that they're trying to make, and then they include the rhino also as part of the project. But well, it wasn't like that, and the artists were very angry. It was all over the local media, and also even the international, media. They covered the story. So we also were trying to report it also from the artistic point of view. Yeah. So you can go back again to the home page, and then select another story that you want to read. So you can click on page number to go to the next story, which is a diaspora artist makes an art center. This is another unique story, because Many times artists have claimed old structures around the world. We have revived old dead buildings into modern galleries, residences. I can mention some names here, but for another time. But this artist, by the name of Victor Telekesha, who is based in Norway, he's done some very extraordinary feat, some remarkable thing to look at. It's a marvel. You know, from foundation, it's a one-story building, and it's got an amazing view. I'm sure I should see it on page on Insaka Contemporary Art Center. It's a story that, again, as I refer to Martin Chanda, that artists, because of the situation we're in, I think these are some positive results that have come out of COVID, that artists are beginning to invest in their homes, in their home countries. And Victor Mtelekesha is one of them. To put up such a structure is something that fits maybe an institution, you know, to do this kind of work. But he put out his own resources to come up with this structure, which is amazing, and to be used for residences as well as workshops and other contemporary art activities. So we wanted just to make sure that the story is really covered here and people know what Victor is all about, you know, in relation to arts development in the country. So we'll say well done to Victor Mtelekesha for doing such a thing, you know. And then there are so many other stories also. We also wanted to cover some very historical a piece here called Ngombe Ilede, Still Alive. This is a follow-up story. It talks about this Ngombe Ilede. Ngombe Ilede in our local language translates to a sleeping cow. And this sleeping cow has been sleeping for the past 1,000 years or more, because it's a very historical site and which has been fenced by the National Heritage and Conservation Commission. So you pay to see this tree. It's not a dead tree, it's a live tree. It's been growing, but it's a tree that is growing from a sleeping position and looks like a cow, hence the name Ngombe Ilede, the sleeping cow. And you could see there's some graffiti that has been scribbled on the backs of this tree, and they've grown together with the tree. You know, you can visualize them. So it means that it's been changing shape over the years, over the decades. Yeah, and this particular site was the one where archaeologists discovered some remains, human remains, who were buried together with their possessions, like they would do it in so many other African cultures, together with their favorite possessions. There were bracelets, porcelain products, which were traced to China. So China must have been here before even the first colonialists or missionaries trading with Africa. So there are examples of Chinese porcelain, copper ingots, salt, so many things. So it was a trade center for the region. And we wanted to cover the story to sort of to bring it back to life, to say, okay, this place, there's so much that can be done because it's got so much history, and yet there are certain things that were not really being, observed. So we wanted to just to give a highlight on this particular site. Our next page, after the conclusive, story of the awards, we have a brief artist profile, and in this feature we have Mr. Mwamba Mlangala. Mr. Mwamba Mlangala is a well-known artist in Zambia. He's part of the Insaka group, and he's been part of the Visual Arts Council, National Executive Board. He's also served in so many other institutions. At the moment, he's a teacher at the American International School. Yeah, and he's had held his own pedigree. He's had 2 solo exhibitions in the US. Here in Zambia, he's done residencies in Peru, in Spain. He's exhibited in group exhibitions in Germany, in New York. He's been to South Africa for residence at Back Factory. He's been to Dakar, Binali. So his pedigree is quite it's quite huge. So we thought maybe we can give a profile to him, and then there's a website where you can link and go to his website and see further some of his works. So we call this feature as a guardian of the palette knife, because he's very good. Most of his work is done in palette knives, by palette knives. So we're featuring Mr. Mwamba Mlanga, and well, as a first issue, it got about 12 pages. So we are looking forward maybe to increase some of the pages in our next issue, because we felt, well, the newsletter should also contain adverts, hopefully if we can get some, and then also to include so many other features that we have not maybe listed here today. But we hope that this is a project that will go on, because it's got life of its own. Yeah, we can report or continue reporting on what artists are doing here in Zambia and also in the region, and we want to grow even on the continent and beyond the continent, so that we can bring out the stories that are not normally reported in the mainstream media. And that's the reason why ArtOgraphy comes in to fill that gap. So at this point in time, I'd like to thank all of you viewers from wherever you are on this beautiful planet, that we say Zikomo, or thank you to all of you for your paying attention.